Hello everyone, I'm Edge FPV and it finally happened. My remix, I crashed it this spring and I broke a couple pins on it. So this is going to be a tutorial on what you can do if that fixed pin set actually breaks off. So I hope this helps some people out, and I'll show you exactly what I did. I also did a few other upgrades on it, and I'll show you that as well too. So this is the pin set that I'm talking about, where it goes together from the flight controller to the 4-in-1 ESC. That piece completely broke off. As you can see right here, that's where the pin header was, and it completely broke off, so I just basically removed all the rest of the pins off of it. And if this does happen to you, there is an easy fix. It actually did come with all the equipment to do it. And if you get one of these boards and you don't like the pin configuration and you want your flight controller a little bit more free floating, then this is what you do. So you can solder up the pins onto the bottom of the configuration like this, and I'll pull up a wiring diagram of where that goes. And the pin headers go right into here. If you open up your hobby welding box and get into the bottom of this here, in this package right here, it actually came with the pin configurations that you need. So makes it kind of convenient. So this is the 6-pin header that you're going to need for power and motor control ports for it. So it comes with these ends on it, but you can just clip those off, or you can solder the pins onto it and pin it up if you wanted to. But yeah, it's really nice that it came with this, because I thought I was going to have to buy a new ESC and flight controller and all that stuff again, and this kind of saved me. So I'll show you here me soldering it up and getting all the pins configured onto here. And it's a pretty easy fix, and you can still use your S6 port for your LEDs. You're just going to be using S1 through 4 on here, and you're just going to be adding just a little bit of extra wire. One part I noticed that was kind of nice is now that I have room for the power cable to go back and forth right here, because before it was kind of sitting over on this side of it, and that very well could have been what happened. Is it ejected the battery and pulled on it pretty hard, so I think it hit it like that and just knocked it right off the board here. So as you can see on this one, it's still the same way. The wires are still coming up the same direction and sitting over onto the side of it. So not really that big of a deal, and I've had one battery eject off of this one as well too. But I got the Oh My grip on it now, So I don't think I'll have that issue again, but we'll just have to see what happens. But the 5-inch one that I've built is still in good condition, still in good standings, and got all the LEDs and everything still on it too. So that the method that I showed you does work, but if you do happen to crash it pretty hard like I did, then you'll understand, you know, that things can break, and if it does, you still have another fix and you'll still have this position right here. So I hope this video helps you out, helps you so you don't have to spend so much money if you happen to break one of these ports, and you can keep flying. So it does come with the 4-pin as well too, but I've used them on other things, so it should come with both the connections for that. And the pin headers, like I was saying, I just soldered them to the bottom of the board here, so they're kind of out of the way, and everything just fits very nice and neat inside of there like that. So it's not that big of a deal to get that fixed, and everything still works on it just fine. The second part to this video is going to be on the actual upgrades that I've done to this since the build video that I made. So I decided to go with this 3D mount on the back for the antenna. That's one of the main things, and a lot of people say not to do this because on long range it needs to be sticking out more. Well, this has been working pretty good so far, so I'm going to try it and see how it works. The other part is I did put the Oma grip on this one because when I bought this frame it did not come with it, so I did actually have to go ahead and buy some of that because I didn't catch the deal where they were giving it to you if you didn't get it. The other thing is the GPS on it. Also in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to hook up one of these GPS's on Betaflight and what you need to do. So the one thing to keep in mind is on a GPS you don't have to have a compass on there, so you can have a 4-wire GPS hooked up on a Betaflight. If you do decide to run a compass, you do need to make sure that the flight controller does have an SCL and an SDA connection for the I2C protocol. If it doesn't have this, it won't pick up on the compass, the magnetometer won't be able to be activated, and nothing will work on that section of it. The Hobbywing X-Rotor Gen 1 does not actually have SDA or SCL connection, so as far as I can see, without running iNav you can't actually get the I2C protocol to run on this particular board in that manner, at least through Betaflight anyway. So you know, just make sure that it does actually have that on your flight controller. If it does, you should be fine. Everything should work just fine through Betaflight as well. You'll just turn on your magnetometer and make sure that it connects correctly. So, and again, I'll show you in Betaflight here how to do that in just a second. The one that I have used on here is actually one from Ready to Fly Quads. My good friend Dorian Hitchcock was actually turned me on to this particular GPS, and it is the Micro U-Blocks M8N, and it's only $13.99. So if you want to have your speeds to see how fast these things are going, or any Betaflight one that you have an extra UART on, they're fantastic for setting that up. So it looks like it's pretty accurate from the flights that I've had. You can have the GPS telemetry on there, but I'll show you how to set up all that through the computer on the screen. There's some pretty cool things that the GPS section of it does, and just a few things you have to set up in the CLI as well too. So I'll run you through all that, but like I said, for $13.99 it's a well deserved investment. And I just mounted mine right on the top of the strap right here, and I do run my batteries as a toilet tank, and it works just fine right there. It picks up on all the GPSs. I get about 12 to 15 satellites in an open field, sometimes more, but that's about all the upgrades that I've done to it since the first build, and I still love this frame. So but I'll show you how to do it in any beta flight, and how you set it up, and the things you want to look for in the CLI. On the Remix with the Hobbywing X Rotor Gen 1 board, this is how I hooked it up, and this is how my wiring goes throughout the whole thing. I do have Crossfire on it, so that does open up one extra UART for me, so I can run the GPS itself. As you can see, I have the tramp set up on the TX port for my channel switching and my power settings. Crossfire is on UART 3, and the GPS is on UART 1. Since I freed up the S bus, I can use UART 1 for the GPS itself. With this configuration, everything worked out great. I still have full control over everything. The Lewis script works just the same as it did before, and I have all the functionality of a GPS on there as well too. Now that you've seen the wiring configuration, I will go ahead and move over to what you do in beta flight and how it looks when it's hooked up.
Once you get your GPS wired up, you want to go ahead and get into beta flight. And if you do have a magnetometer, this is where you actually calibrate it. But on my case, I do not. I have just the 4-wire GPS without a compass. So we'll want to go into ports, and like I said on mine, I have it under UART 1. So you want to come down here to your sensor input and change that down to GPS. Then you want to save and reboot. Once you do that, then you're going to come down here to configuration. You're going to scroll down to the bottom here and just make sure that your telemetry is on. You're also going to want to turn on this tab for GPS. It should automatically come up with these settings here. Mine is a U-Blocks, so I have it set to that one. Some of them are NMEA, but most of them are going to be this one. Well, make sure that your OSD is on if you want the telemetry to show up on that part of it as well too. So the next thing you want to come down to is your GPS and see if it's actually working correctly. See if it's showing up with satellites shown here like this. It does come up with a map, and it will show you where you're at, and that's pretty accurate how it is there. Shows your telemetry speed in centimeters per second. And then the very next thing you want to do is come down here to CLI. You're going to come into here and you're going to type in get space GPS. Once you type that in, it's going to come up with all these different numbers here for this portion of it. And some of these settings are under that GPS tab that I showed you, like the U-Blocks. Same way with your mode, it's set as auto. These are your other options. WAAS is North America. You know, like I said, I just set it to auto, so it'll pick up on any satellites. And most of this stuff you're going to leave pretty much alone. If you want to copy what I have here, you can. One thing you're going to want to set up is GPS rescue angle, and that's going to be the angles in degrees of where it's set to. So 32 is the default. I went ahead and set it to 40, so it'll come back to me a little bit quicker. The other part is initial altitude, so you can have it at any one you want. The default value is 50. I went 55 because I want it to be up there about 150 feet, so that's pretty close to that. And then the rescue descent distance, which means the distance away from home that will actually start coming down, I have it set at 45, which should be roughly about 100 feet. And let's see, the rescue ground speed, I put it at 1500. So I'm not sure exactly what this measures off of, but that should be just right around the midpoint. So I'm hoping that that's what that's going to be. Rescue throttle PID and throttle PID, you just kind of have to mess with your quad and set those to what it is. If it's shaking too much while it's coming back, you might want to get these changed. Other than that, I just leave them alone. And throttle minimum, I put it 1200, that way at least it still hovers off the ground. That's roughly about where it does that. GPS rescue throttle max is 1600, just so it doesn't throttle up too fast when it's trying to correct itself. If you put it at 2000, that's full bore and it's just gonna fly off the handle. GPS rescue throttle hover, again 1200. Actually that's set at 1280. I was actually told by somebody to do that one. And then this is the important part here, the GPS rescue sanity checks. That's the one that you're going to want to go ahead and change to rescue sanity FS only. So, you know, forward switch or F switch is what you're going to want to set that to. And you can just copy and paste up to the equal sign here. Copy that, get down here and go set space and then paste that in, equals rescue sanity FS only. So that's the one you're going to want. If you set it to rescue sanity on, that means if it goes into failsafe or loses any type of connection with the radio, it's automatically going to kick this on and come back. The bad part about that is if it happens to hit a tree and get stuck in a tree, then it's going to try to actually still come back because it sees that it's still off the ground, and it could really rip some stuff up. So I really suggest to put this on a switch if you can. And you know, most of the time you're going to run out of video before you run out of radio signal, especially if you're running Crossfire. So it'd be a good idea to just set this up on a switch, and when you lose video, kick it on, let it come back until you can see video, and then kick it back off again. So the GPS rescue minimum satellites, now that is if you don't want it to arm unless it has this many satellites. So you can set that down to 4 or 0 if you want to, and it can take off before it picks up any satellites. But while it's in the air flying through, it might not pick up on any satellites. So I have it set to 6, which is the minimum that most of them are set to in the first place. So once it picks up on 6 satellites, then I can arm the quad. So this can be a bad part, because if you happen to be in a tunnel or under a building or anything like that, then it's not going to actually arm until it picks up at least 6 satellites. Then the next thing are these options here, which these are the quantities that I was told to put these at. So if you want to follow these along, the next ones are FR Sky GPS format is 0. Speed position is 2337. Linear position is 2369. Lateral position is 2401. And sat position is 2457. I don't know why I was told to put those like that, but that's what I was told, so I tried it. So if you want to try the default values that it has here, go ahead and try that, but it seems to work just fine like this. So after you get all that done, you're just going to type in save and boot it back up, and then you can go back back into here, and you just want to make sure that you're still showing your GPS is coming up without a problem on that part of it. And then you can come back down here to OSD and set up exactly what you want. So I got my coordinates here, I got the satellites here, so I know if I'm ready to arm or not, and then of course your miles per hour and your altitude, and let's see what else I got. The home arrow, distance from home. So, and there's a couple other things that you can put on here as well too, if you want. If you have the magnetometer or one inside your flight controller by itself, you can put the compass bar in there. You know, you can put your max distance for your post-flight statistics. You know, your maximum speed, and you know, I think that's about all you have on here. The artificial horizons and stuff work a little bit better with this on there. So the very last thing that you want to set up on this is your GPS rescue switch. So this is where it's at. This is what you want to set up, and you're just going to set it to whatever aux switch that you want it to. I just have it set in the middle so I know where it's at. It's not on my arm switch, it's actually on my turtle mode switch, so I can switch it between, you know, GPS rescue if I'm in the air, or turtle mode when I'm on the ground. So after that is set up, then if you want to, you know, and you test this out and to make sure everything works, you can come back over here to the failsafe, and if you have it set to on, it'll give you the option here to set it up as rescue. So that should be the only thing that you have to set up in the beta flight section, but definitely make sure that you do have this rescue switch to a switch at first to test it out. Now we'll go ahead and move over to the radio, and I'll show you what telemetry actually comes up on there once you get this configured up.
Alright, after you're all done there in beta flight, you're going to go ahead and come in here to your radio and go to Discover New Sensors, and you're going to click on that, and it should populate with a whole bunch of new ones. So should come up with the altimeter, how many satellites, heading, so it kind of has a compass but not really. Ground speed, you got to remember on that too, the miles per hour that it's showing is ground speed, so that's going across the ground. So if you're shooting straight up in the air, that's not actually going to read how fast you're going to go straight up. And then the GPS for the coordinates, and then the regular stuff, capacity, you know, all the other telemetry stuff you need. So, but once you get that set up, then you can come back and go into your screen 1, and that's the configuration that I'm showing on mine. So if you want to copy that, you sure can. But after that, then when I go back out to my main menu and go into my Lewis script section of it, this is what I see. So I have 11 satellites, ground speed is 1.4, which it's not moving right now, so it's probably just still trying to pick up on my position a little bit better. It is indoors, so it has a little bit of hard time that way. And then it shows my actual coordinates as well as, you know, the rest of the stuff that I want on here. Your receiver and all that will pick up on it automatically. You don't really need to do anything else on the radio. Like I said, there's really not much else you have to do other than, you know, find your new sensors once you get the GPS hooked up, and then you'll be able to have that set up like that without a problem. And like I said before, the Lewis script still works without a problem as well, so there's no issue. I mean, you get a lot of telemetry when you have a GPS set up like that as well. Well, that's it for today. So I hope you learned something, and I hope you decide to get this $13.99 upgrade to have your speed, your coordinates, if you happen to lose it or anything like that. And I just really hope this video helped you guys out. So like, subscribe, let me know if there's anything else you want to see. I have a couple more videos I'm going to be putting out pretty soon. Hopefully get some fly time in real soon. It's just been raining or snowing or 3 feet of snow on the ground, so I haven't had a chance to do anything yet. But I want to get up there in the mountains and do some long range, and I want to do some freestyle. So hopefully I'll get to do that real soon. I really appreciate your support. And go ahead and smash that like button, and don't forget to set the reminder so when these videos come out, you guys get to see them as soon as possible. Thanks again for watching.